Yeah, Ajamara here. In this video, I just want to talk a little bit about one of the reasons, or the constellation of reasons, that can be one scenario or a common aspect of scenario of what makes it so difficult to leave a person or to end a relationship with a person with BPD or even NPD. Why is that so difficult? Well, there are many reasons. There's the neurobiological chemical soup, so to speak, of getting addicted to a person. There's a Stockholm syndrome of identifying with the person who's treating you so poorly and beyond. And you're trying to figure things out. You still might love them. You still might really care about them. Many people are at a point where they know that a relationship can't go on, but they are feeling sorry for or compassion for somebody with BPD. The other thing that makes it really difficult when people are wrestling with whether to leave or not, or if they've left and then they get hoovered back. And by the way, being hoovered back doesn't mean that the person with BPD tricks you into that or manipulates you into that. You make a choice too, right? And it's important to realize that or be mindful about that. So the other thing that makes it really difficult, sometimes you get ghosted and then it's not your choice. And there's no closure in any of these scenarios. So that makes it really, really difficult, more painful, and more of a recovery process. And it takes a while for people to even know. Sorry, just a video thing on my phone happening over there. Processing. It takes people a lot of time to really figure out that, hey, this, you try so hard to make it work, right? So many things are denied. So many things you try to rationalize or ignore or put up with somebody with BPD in any relationship type. And the other thing is but what makes it really hard to leave, and maybe it's more significant others I'm talking about now, excuse me, what makes it really even harder to make that decision to leave or to end a relationship, like if you're dating even, if you're not ghosted, and maybe even the relationship, whether it's been a long one or a short one, the longer, the more difficult for all kinds of reasons. But what I'm trying to get to here is it's also the fact that people are, when you know you have to move forward, no closure, emotional, cognitive dissonance, somewhat that chemical soup of addiction to this person, maybe Stockholm syndrome, all of these moving pieces and more. And then it's like all the investment in the relationship, especially longer term, children in many cases, what to do about all of that. And then for some people, it's about how old they are. And, well, I don't think I can start over right now. And yet, sometimes people really need to make that choice. So with all of this that goes into the consideration and the valiant efforts that people put into trying to rescue, trying to fix, trying to make a relationship work with somebody with BPD when it just isn't working and maybe hasn't been working for a long time, is because it's a lot of loss with no closure, and it's very painful, and it's very unlike any other kind of relationship breakup. That's not with a person, with BPD or cluster B. And I think, too, that it's something that a lot of people aren't maybe aware of at the time. Like right now, you might be in this situation, and maybe you're not really consciously aware of why, on top of how much you feel, and how much pain, and how confused you are, and how you might feel guilty if you leave, or they ghosted you, and now you're just in a quandary of all kinds of emotions, confusion, bewilderment, shocked. So much happens, and it's so incredibly painful. And so there's all of that to deal with, all of that to try to understand. And then there's your pain and your hurting, and however you're coping with it. Are you pushing it away? Are you trying to get the person back? Is there going to be a reverse Hoover, a reconnecting, an on-off situation? as people process through things, people continuing to have this false hope. But all of this aspect of what's happening in a relationship, or what's happened, or if you're the ex now, or if you got ghosted, or if you left, you turn away from something that you put, someone and a relationship you put so much into, and got so damaged in the process, losing yourself. You turn away from that, and it's like, to what, right? To obvious, incredible pain that many people aren't really ready to deal with. Many people aren't not only not ready, confused about how to deal with, but maybe just don't know how to process it, don't know how to feel, don't know how to be with your feelings. It all feels really overwhelming. And so there's all of that. And then what else is there involved when you've had this, painful, type of relationship with somebody with BPD, or a narcissist for that matter, or comorbidity BPD, NPD person? Then you got all what I just mentioned and more going on, and a world of pain and hurt and confusion, and maybe shock, maybe not, depends how it ended. But you may still have so much hope, and then there's this reality that people think, well, if I can just get him or her to go to therapy, then we'll have a chance. Or maybe they'll go to therapy, we can get back together sometime. No, the therapy takes really considerable work and a lot of time. And that's years, usually. And that's if they really engage it and want it, okay? So all of these roadblocks to what you thought was your soulmate or your dream person, all of these things just falling away, breaking and shattering one after the other. And or then you're ghosted, or you have to leave. Heart-wrenching, and all that I've described so far. And then what is the other aspect of this that people might not even be consciously aware of yet? Well, you might not be aware how much you've lost yourself. You might be feeling what that feels like, but you might not be aware of what is that you're feeling amongst all other things you might be feeling. Hurt and angry and wounded and lots of different ways that people describe it. And the other thing is, so with all of that, you turn away. You try to go no contact, or you go no contact. And sometimes people hold on to that. And sometimes people can't stay in that zone without reverse hoovering or being hoovered and going back and trying again. And what is that false hope about? And I'm really almost ready to say, I don't like the words, but I'm almost ready to call it malignant optimism. But I don't think that's exactly what it is either. Something between false hope and what? Well, here's where the other big thing comes in, and I'm always saying, if you resonate with me, I'm out here to work with you. Why? If you have BPD, of course, or BPD, NPD, but for exes, or in any relationship type with somebody with BPD, or BPD, NPD comorbidity, or if it was a narcissist that you were with, what's that other piece there? What is that feeling among all the feelings when you're overwhelmed and you're confused and you're lost and you don't know what just happened, especially if you were ghosted? It happens to so many people these days. Or even if you left, it's like, oh, what now? And you don't, maybe you're numbed out, maybe you're just like denying your feelings, or maybe you're just feeling a tremendous amount, and it's like, I don't know what to do with any of this right now. And what is the other piece with the feeling that you may or may not be aware of right now, or you might not have been aware of at the time, and there might be people come along and see this video who aren't aware of it right now? What is that feeling, so hard to describe, of confusion, pain, lostness? What now? What happened? Just a devastation that's almost really doesn't have the perfect adjective for it to describe it. It is what's just happened and all that's happened to you and what you're going through right now. That feeling is loss of self, like among other feelings. And that large part of that pain and that confusion and that lostness, etc., is really where it intersects with something, in most people's cases, codependency, where it intersects with your wounded inner child. And this is something that's been a part of the relationship, a part of the way it began, a part of the fact that the relationship went on, or the dating relationship, or whatever, but the fact that you've been so invested. Codependency isn't just everybody being exactly the same as a codependent, but with what all that does mean in various different iterations for people, you are now not only in a world of hurt from everything you've just been through, from what you know and what you don't know yet, and the confusion, and what happened here, and why, and I love this person, and where'd the person I love go, and all of that and more. But you're now experiencing also, and many people don't realize this consciously at this point in time, of entirely being a chaotic, horrific, painful time. Many people don't realize you're now feeling, and maybe not not consciously aware, but from your subconscious, rising up within you, is the wounded inner child, who's gone through this relationship with you, who largely was part of how you got into the relationship. So that's a subconscious level. And then, so people are faced with, it's not just a double whammy, really. There's so many aspects of like multiple sort of like whammy, painful parts, moving parts to this. And so recovery and getting help and reaching out and working through inner child healing, family of origin work, self-differentiation, yes, in tandem, though, with needing to work on healing from the relationship, needing to understand not only intellectually, as people watch videos, read books, etc., but needing to emotionally understand what just happened and how all of the way the relationship played itself out and how wounding and painful it is for you, because it is, and because that's what happened in the relationship with unhealthy bonds, etc. But it's also mirroring something for many people with codependency. It mirrors something for your wounded inner child, maybe that you have never really been consciously aware of since you were that young age, at which you had some woundedness occur that created the pattern of a codependent response in you, a codependent way of relating to people, which is a really one word to describe a lot of different ways of relating, because not every codependent is the same. But so now you're looking at this, so it's multifaceted. It's like a bunch of, like a whole, your life, like a huge puzzle, just all fell apart. And it's like, where would you start to put that puzzle back together? And that's where it's interesting but difficult for people to realize that it's this multi-layered, multifaceted process in recovery. To recover from the relationship, to understand intellectually, yes, more about what happened and what was going on with the person and etc., and what was happening for you. But then it's also important to know that as you're in recovery from the relationship and from all of that pain, etc., you're also, most people with codependency, most people in this position have some level of codependency and may not really be aware of why and what that goes back to. But then, so it's your wounded inner child that's been really triggered. And so you're now not only experiencing the pain, or when you were in this place, and you might still be working on it, you're now not only experiencing the pain from the relationship and the breakup or the being ghosted and dreams being dashed and hopes being lost and all of that grief, but you're also having this pain rising from inside, whether you realize it or not. Many people are consciously aware of it, many people aren't. From this wounded inner child that really needs your attention. And that's why I'm always saying to people with codependency and after these relationships, or well, people haven't left them yet, I might start working with them at that point because I want to process things to make a decision as to whether they're going to leave or not. or if you've been ghosted and you didn't have a choice, and the lack of closure. So it's a multi-layered, multifaceted process where it all kind of comes at you at once. And you might not be aware of all the pieces, but for so many people, the wounded inner child is on fire inside. And that's a great deal of pain, as well as the pain from how you were just treated, what happened if you were ghosted, if you had to leave, what all that devolves in these relationships that is not only chaotic and dramatic, but is so incredibly painful. So then, so this is what I'm talking about, the kind of work I do with people. So if I resonate with you, I'm out here to help you on this process, to help you find yourself, to help you find out more about that wounded inner child, at the same time as helping you to understand more and to work on your taking understanding from the intellectual and fact-finding about, well, this person had BPD or this or that, to the emotional level, which involves the inner child, family of origin work, and self-differentiation, but it also involves an active process in the here and now of recovery from that person in that relationship. So just I would do a video about that to say, when you are in that tumultuous, terrible world of hurt that you just might not know if you're coming or going, you might be so confused, know that it's multi-layered and that you've suffered so much in the relationship, and it has mirrored something. It has triggered you back to the primal subconsciously. You're feeling it maybe, or you're trying to avoid feeling it, but you don't know what it is, and it's this wounded inner child. So even when you are recovering or working on recovery from the relationship, understanding, processing all of that, there's this deeper level of work to do as well. And I work with clients. I've been doing this for 32 years now. And what I try to do with clients, some clients come and they really want to get into how can I heal, or maybe it's been a little while since everything blew up and, fell apart. And then so they've got some answers, and they're sort of taking care of part of some of the relational woundedness still, but they're wanting to really do the next piece of work, the inner child healing, family of origin work, and self-differentiation, which really is really the way to heal from these type of relationships. The depth of the healing, so that you won't be in another relationship like this ever again. No matter how old you are, by the way, it's never too late to do this work. So there's that. But a lot of clients start off with needing to process a lot about what happened. Just needing to tell me a lot about everything that happened in stages, in phases, in examples. And so that's also something that I'm here for. Sometimes people just really need somebody to understand and hear them and answer some questions to help you gain more clarity about what was all this about, that you're watching videos, you're looking into finding information, but as somebody who's been on both sides of BPD, I find that a lot of the work I do with clients, at least initially, is very much about answering questions about why did this person do this, why did it, and I can't speak to why every other person does every single thing, but I can speak to the patterns of people with BPD and the way they think and what's happening. And also I can do the same, although I'm not a narcissist. I was never diagnosed with that. But I had two parents with that and comorbidity. So I understand a lot about what's happening in those relationships and when a person is has BPD comorbid with NPD. So yeah, I'm out here to work with you if that resonates with you, if you feel like that would help you, because so many people think, and you might choose to work with someone else, that's cool. I'm just saying if I resonate with you. But lots of people choose to maybe not get help, and they try to find their way. They try to find their way through it for too long on their own. Next thing you know, sometimes people can fall into a bit of a pattern of drinking that they never did before. They just got to take the edge off the agony. People are trying to avoid feelings. Sometimes people rush into another, if it was dating and if people weren't married to children, or wherever the case, but often they rush into another relationship. It's another cluster B. It's more heartache. It's happening all over again because the wounded inner child is really guiding more than people are consciously aware of. But the other thing about it is sometimes it can really help people just to be heard, to be understood, to have questions answered, to process the relationship itself and what happened and how you're going to move forward. Or I have lots of clients who come to me because they're thinking of leaving and they're not sure what to do. And so in that quandary also, I can offer support and help and guidance. And I don't tell people what to do. That's not my job. I'm here to help you, not to tell you how to live your life or what choices to make. And so then there's this multifaceted, if people don't get help and reach out, they often, like I said, some people end up drinking, some people might just use more legal medicinal things, but it can set up some pretty unhealthy or devastating patterns if it's left unchecked too long. And the other thing is, the longer you go without reaching out, and with me if I resonate with you or someone else, to really help you on this journey after all you've been through and the confusion and the pain. And even if you're not right in that moment there, or you're not sure whether you want to leave or not, and so it's a different kind of agony and hurt and pain. Or maybe this happened, months ago, or 6 months ago, or a year ago, but you're still not doing okay. You're still really hurting. You're still really thinking about them a lot. Your life isn't the same yet. You're still lost to yourself, and dealing with everything that happened to you. What's really important to know is if you don't reach out for help, aside from what I just said, you can also, you're more susceptible to being hoovered or doing a reverse hoover, trying to get what amounts to just another fix so that you don't have to feel as bad as you feel right now. You just want to try to find a way to get rid of that pain because it's so hard to process. So that happens, and then people sometimes are doing quite well, but they haven't reached out for help, and they have codependency and these issues I'm talking about, and that you got really hurt in the relationship, and you need to heal that. And so what happens is people end up somehow really slowly or somehow really quickly, if not with another person, going back to the ex and going around another cycle and getting spat out again at the other side, in even more pain than you were in when you thought there wasn't any more pain you could possibly be in. So it's a slippery slope trying to navigate the difficulties and the multi-layered levels of pain and emotion, and I just can't even find enough words for how people feel when this happens, whether suddenly or over time, whether you were discarded or ghosted, or whether you had to leave the relationship. And what all that means in all kinds of iteration of loss, and how does that go back to a wounded inner child? And so if you don't reach out and get help, what often happens is people end up either going to the next cluster B and getting really re-injured and re-wounded again, or going back and trying again, and when they thought they never would. People, I've even working with clients, it happens sometimes, that they are like, I'm never going to go back, and I know now, and they get more, but then it happens again. And so, major message I like to say too is if you want to work with me, or for clients who are working with me, they know this already, I definitely don't judge that. In fact, I usually can see it coming. I usually can tell when someone's kind of in that space, or when they're about to dive into another relationship. And I've had clients who do get into another relationship quickly, and the odd time it seems like it's going well, but it's too early really to know. And for many clients over longer periods of time, I've worked with over 32 years, they never stayed in those relationships, and probably, I don't like numbers, but percentage-wise, I would say 95% or even higher of the people that after you are ghosted, discarded, or you have to break up with somebody with BPD or NPD or comorbidity both, or psychopath for that matter, they end up with another cluster B. It's really important to reach out. It's really important to do this healing and recovery work. It's really important to learn how to cope with your pain, face your pain, understand your pain, not just in your head, from videos and books, etc., but to really bring it into your emotional landscape, and that's where the inner child work the, you know, family of origin self-differentiation work really comes into play. People really need to find themselves again. People often, in many different ways, they state it. Just like, I don't know, I've had men say I'm just a shadow of myself. I don't feel like a man anymore. That kind of thing, to women feeling, you know, I don't know. I just think there's nothing good about me. I'm never going to be attractive to anybody else when they are attractive, or, you know what I'm saying? So it just decimates people on all kinds of levels, self-esteem, self-worth, but even to the point of losing yourself. And people with codependency can know themselves, some more than others, but there's something there, like I'm always talking about in pieces of videos here and there, that you need to know more about yourself and take a healing and recovery journey that's deep and complete. And these journeys don't take years, you know. I mean, I've worked with some clients over the course of a few years, on and off maybe sometimes, but I've worked with a lot of clients for a period of maybe 6 to 8 months. Even things get better, a lot better for them, and then maybe they check in, have sessions from here, you know, time to time, or a year, 18 months. But the point is, there's a lot that I can help people out with in sessions, so that I can really help you to get through a lot of things initially that can help you to help yourself more in going further in the process, to where then people will have more sessions with me in the future, but like not necessarily as frequently as in the beginning, because that's the goal, is really how to help you to find your way through healing and recovery from the relationship, all that damage, and family of origin, inner child self-differentiation, all of that. And so it's not all exactly done at once, but it can be done sort of simultaneously at different points in different ways. Depends where people are. But anyways, I hope that was helpful, and I just want to acknowledge the tremendous pain that there aren't enough words to describe for so many people who are going through this, and might be in that place of, I think I have to leave this relationship, or might have just been ghosted, or it might have been a while ago in your life, but you're still really hurting because maybe you haven't reached out yet to do some of the recovery work that people really do need to do, that you're going to take longer to find yourself, if you find it for yourself, this recovery, that will keep you away from, and I help people to sort of be cluster B proofed in the process as well, because otherwise these patterns in codependence will repeat, and you're more than likely than ever, like such a high percentage chance, if you just try to go it on your own, if you get into a relationship too quickly, again, if it's not with the ex and going backwards in that sense and around again, it's going to be going forward to the next cluster B, and nobody needs any more pain after what you've already been through. So I hope that was helpful. Take care.